Have you ever wondered if there is a phrase, a simple spoken key, that could unlock the invisible bank vault of abundance? Imagine a few words so divinely charged that they instantly set the currents of money, favor, and opportunity into motion. This is not just imagination, it's spiritual law. And the phrase you'll discover today is drawn from ancient truth, hidden in plain sight, revealed through divine guidance and timeless wisdom. If you've struggled, waited, or worried, today is the day that all changes. The frequency of wealth is always around you. You're about to speak the words that tune you to it, instantly. Words are keys that unlock spiritual laws. Every word you speak is a decree, a mold, a force sent out into the invisible ethers, carving your reality before your eyes can behold it. The tongue, though small, is the rudder of destiny. It steers the ship of your life into calm waters or raging storms. What you speak, you shape. What you declare, you prepare. In the unseen realm, where divine law operates with perfect precision, words are not idle things. They are seeds, they are triggers, they are switches that activate spiritual machinery. Each syllable is stamped with intention, and the law receives it without judgment, only execution. If you speak of lack, the law provides conditions to match it. If you speak abundance, doors begin to open even before your senses detect the change. The laws of spirit do not respond to emotion. They respond to word. Feeling may give power to the word, but it is the word itself that commands. A person may feel fearful, but when they say, "I am safe and divinely protected," they realign themselves with higher truth. The spoken word overrides the chaos of the emotional world and reestablishes harmony. Your words are not echoes of your condition, they are blueprints of your condition to come. Too many speak carelessly, not realizing they are authoring their tomorrows. To say, "I can't afford it," is to lock the gates of supply. To say, "I always receive what I need," is to fling open the windows of heaven. Even in jest, the law does not laugh, it simply records and responds. The secret is in the consistency. A single word may flicker like a match, but repeated words burn into the subconscious, illuminating the path ahead. The subconscious, that fertile ground beneath reason, is always listening. It accepts the words spoken with faith and begins to shape circumstances to match. Like a builder receiving instructions, it starts to move, gather, shift, and raise the structure of your life. When a person understands that every phrase is a petition to the universe, they begin to guard their tongue as a sacred tool. They no longer rehearse failure. They no longer magnify problems. They speak as creators, not victims. They speak as kings and queens of a spiritual kingdom, commanding the invisible forces of good to rise up and serve them. Consider the laws that govern health, relationships, success, and wealth. These are not separate compartments of life, but reflections of one law, the law of the word. As it is spoken, so it is formed. A body afflicted with pain can be transformed by words of healing repeated with conviction. A soul weighed down by debt can be lifted by a new vocabulary, one that praises divine supply and proclaims financial freedom. The ancient scriptures say, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, not in effort, not in time, in the tongue." This is no metaphor, it is law. Your declarations are not suggestions, they are instruments of power. When you say, "I am guided by divine wisdom," you awaken a higher mind within. When you say, "I attract only right people and right circumstances," the old cycle is broken and the new begins to unfold. There are those who speak and then wait to see if it works. But the wise understand that the word is the work. It is not a trial, it is a law. Spiritual laws are exact and impersonal. The electricity in your house does not decide whether or not to work based on your feelings. It simply responds to the switch. Your words are that switch. Words spoken in fear create locks. Words spoken in faith create keys, and the one who consistently speaks words of truth, peace, provision, and success lives under an open heaven where doors no man can shut begin to appear before them. A single right phrase spoken in faith can shift all conditions. In the invisible realm where divine law operates, there is no struggle, no confusion, no delay. The moment a phrase is spoken with unwavering belief, the whole structure of unseen forces begins to realign. That which once seemed immovable starts to tremble. That which was stagnant begins to stir. It is not effort that changes things, it is alignment, and alignment comes through the spoken word uttered in faith. One phrase, just one, spoken from a place of deep spiritual certainty, has the power to dissolve limitation, reverse delays, open doors, and lift burdens that have lingered for years. Why? Because such a phrase is not ordinary. It is charged with the vibration of truth. It carries the frequency of divine law. It becomes a spiritual command, and all the universe rushes to obey it. This is not about chanting empty affirmations or repeating lines in fear, hoping something will change. The phrase must be right, not in grammar, but in spiritual authority. It must be born from truth, aimed with precision, and released with faith. Then, and only then, it becomes a weapon of light, a divine key turning in the invisible lock of circumstances. Faith is the power that activates the phrase. Without faith, the words are like seeds cast upon stone. But when spoken with faith, quiet, resolute, knowing, those same words fall into fertile soil. They begin to grow, to rise, to alter conditions that no human hand could touch. Mountains begin to move, not by force, but by word. There are stories throughout the ages of lives changed by a single statement. God is my supply. All things work together for my good. Nothing can hinder the divine plan of my life. These are not merely comforting thoughts. They are coded instructions. They are spiritual legislation. When declared with authority, they override fear, cancel delay, and summon provision from unexpected places. Faith does not ask how. It simply speaks the phrase and knows the way is made. Conditions on the outside may not shift immediately, but something in the atmosphere does. The clouds begin to lift. The tension begins to ease. Doors that were closed begin to creak open. The outer world must respond to the inner declaration. That is law. The one who speaks with faith is not waiting for evidence. The phrase itself is the evidence. The phrase is the act of creation. It is a planting, and the harvest is guaranteed. There is no such thing as an idle word when spoken in spiritual awareness. Every word is a cause, and every cause produces its effect. The beauty of divine law is that it does not require repetition to work. It requires belief. One phrase, spoken once, in full alignment with truth, can unravel years of hardship. But because most people speak with doubt, hesitation, or contradiction, their results are delayed. The law is perfect, but the application is often broken by fear. When the phrase is spoken in true faith, it becomes a sword. It cuts through appearances. It pierces illusion. It slays the giants of fear, lack, delay, and confusion. It speaks to the highest part of the self and awakens divine authority. Even if everything around you contradicts your phrase, stand on it. Speak it again, not as a plea, but as a proclamation. Declare what is spiritually true, even if the physical world has yet to reflect it. I am divinely provided for. This situation is already resolved. Divine order now takes charge. It is not the length of the phrase that gives it power. It is the clarity of belief behind it. In the world of spirit, less is often more. A single phrase, fully believed, becomes a lightning strike. It flashes across the darkness of circumstance and ignites transformation. This is why the masters of truth have always spoken few words, but powerful ones. They understood that when a word is charged with the authority of faith, it no longer functions as sound. It becomes law, and law reshapes reality. Money is a spiritual idea, and it flows on the current of right thinking. Money is not merely paper, coin, or electronic transaction. That is only the shadow, the symbol. The substance of money is spiritual, and its origin is divine. Before it appears in the physical world, it exists in thought. It is a manifestation, not a source. It is a reflection, not a cause. It is the evidence of alignment, not the result of effort alone. When a person says, "I need more money," what they truly need is a change in thought. For money flows where thought is clear, right, and rooted in spiritual law. Where there is confusion, fear, or resentment around money, the flow is blocked. Not because the supply is limited, but because the channel is clogged. In divine mind, money is simply a tool of circulation. It is a servant of purpose, a support for expression. It was never meant to be chased, feared, hoarded, or idolized. The one who understands this truth sees money as energy, neutral, obedient, and abundant. It goes where it is welcomed and respected, not where it is worshipped or worried over. Right thinking is the conductor of this energy. It forms the channel through which the idea of supply becomes tangible substance. Right thinking includes praise, not complaint, gratitude, not lack, certainty, not doubt. When you think in alignment with divine supply, you attract divine supply. You do not need to figure out the path. You simply need to remain in harmony with the law of prosperity. Money, being spiritual in nature, is governed by spiritual laws, and these laws are exact. Just as a musical note vibrates at a specific frequency, so does wealth. If your thoughts are tuned to fear, anxiety, or unworthiness, you are out of harmony with that frequency. But when you think in terms of ease, generosity, sufficiency, and trust, the channel is clear and the current flows. Many believe that money comes from labor or luck, but both are secondary channels. The true source is spirit, and spirit is limitless. The moment you believe that you are cut off from your good, you have stepped out of right thinking. The idea of money does not diminish. It is your connection to it that weakens. Strengthen the connection, and the flow resumes. To align with the spiritual idea of money, one must reject the false ideas of scarcity. Scarcity is not of God. It is a human illusion, bred by fear and reinforced by repetition. Break the spell by speaking truth. There is more than enough. Money comes to me freely and frequently. I am aligned with divine abundance. These are not affirmations of wishful thinking. They are declarations of spiritual fact. Right thinking also includes the idea of purpose. Money, being a spiritual tool, flows best when it has direction. When you know why you desire wealth, and that purpose is in harmony with good, money comes quickly. It resists the hand of the selfish, but yields to the one whose motive is expansion, upliftment, and expression. The law of circulation demands that money not be held in fear, but released in faith. Give when guided. Pay bills with thanksgiving. Receive with joy. Money must be allowed to move, or it will stagnate. Right thinking says, there is always more where that came from, and thus the stream remains open. You are not required to toil or struggle endlessly for your supply. You are only required to think rightly, to align your thoughts with truth, not appearance. Appearances may lie. They may whisper lack, danger, delay. But truth always speaks increase, and the person whose thoughts are steeped in increase attracts increase without effort or strain. When you see money as a spiritual idea, you rise above its illusion of control. You become the master of it, not the servant. You recognize it as part of the divine system of support, here to bless, serve, and enable your highest good. The subconscious is impressed by repetition and belief. The subconscious mind is the silent builder of your life. It does not argue. It does not reason. It does not choose between truth or falsehood. It simply accepts what it is given. especially what is given often and with conviction. It is the fertile soil into which the seeds of your words, thoughts, and images are planted. And like all soil, it brings forth whatever is sown, whether weeds or wheat. Whatever idea is repeated consistently and believed deeply will take root in the subconscious. It is through this combination, repetition, and belief that thought becomes form and the invisible becomes visible. An idle phrase may flutter by like a breeze, but a repeated phrase, spoken with emotion and certainty, sinks deep. There it begins its silent work, drawing to itself the conditions, people, and events necessary for its expression. Every belief you currently hold about yourself, about others, about the world, was impressed upon the subconscious in this very way. Whether through your own words or the words of others, you heard them again and again until they became familiar, and finally they became truth to you. Some of these beliefs serve you, others silently sabotage your progress, but all were accepted by the subconscious without resistance because they came clothed in repetition and belief. The wise understand this and use it with intention. They speak words of success even when failure surrounds them. They declare health even when the body protests. They repeat affirmations of peace, love, provision, and wisdom until the subconscious, like a loyal servant, begins to reshape the outer life accordingly. It is not enough to say a thing once and hope. The mind must be retrained, repatterned, realigned. Just as the body is strengthened by repeated motion, the mind is strengthened by repeated truth. Each repetition builds a stronger groove in the mental pathways. Eventually, what once felt foreign becomes familiar, and what was once a wish becomes your natural state of thought. Emotion deepens the impression. When you feel what you say, the subconscious accepts it more quickly. Words spoken with fear may be taken in just as fast as those spoken with faith. That is why it is so important to speak with certainty, to declare, I am safe, I am guided, I am abundantly provided for, not as a hope, but as a fact, because the subconscious does not know the difference between a truth and a lie. It only knows what is repeated and believed. If you have spoken words of limitation for years, do not be surprised if it takes time to reverse the effect, but do not despair. The subconscious is always listening. It is never closed to new instruction. With steady repetition and unwavering belief, you can overwrite old patterns and install new ones that align with your highest good. Guard your words, watch your thoughts, and when you find one that does not serve you, replace it. Not once, but daily. Not as a chant, but as a decree. Let the new truth be spoken aloud. Let it be written. Let it be imagined. Let it be felt. For the subconscious is most deeply moved by what is seen within and affirmed without. This is why spiritual teachers of all ages have emphasized meditation, affirmation, visualization, and prayer, not for ritual, but for reprogramming, for impressing upon the hidden self a new reality that, once accepted, must be expressed in the visible world. The conscious mind chooses the thought. The subconscious makes it real. You do not earn money, you align with it. Money is not a reward for struggle. It is not the result of endless toil or sleepless nights. It does not come simply because you have worked hard enough or long enough. That is the belief of the world, a belief born of limitation and lack. But in the higher realm of spiritual truth, money is not earned, it is aligned with. It flows to the one who is in harmony with its vibration, just as a river flows freely along its natural course. To believe that money must be earned is to reduce it to something external, something to chase, something to strive for. This belief creates strain, tension, and resistance. But when you recognize that money is a divine idea, part of your spiritual inheritance, you begin to release the struggle. You stop pursuing, and instead you allow. You stop begging, and you begin receiving. Money responds to your consciousness, not your calendar. It appears in the life of the one who sees themselves as already supplied. It gravitates toward the person who believes in divine support, who trusts in the invisible law of provision, who expects good, not as a reward, but as a reflection of inner certainty. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. Alignment is not passive, it is deeply intentional. It means adjusting your thoughts, feelings, and words to reflect the truth that your supply is already complete in the mind of God. It means living from the knowing that you are a spiritual being, supported by an abundant universe. It means removing the thoughts of unworthiness, guilt, and fear that have blocked the flow for so long. To align with money, you must begin to speak differently. No more saying, "I can't afford this," or "I'll never get ahead." These words are not just statements, they are commands to the subconscious mind. They set your frequency to lack, and so lack is what you draw. Speak instead from the truth. My supply is unlimited. Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. I live in divine abundance. Speak it until it feels real. Speak it until it becomes the atmosphere of your life. Right action follows right alignment. When your thoughts are clear and your faith is steady, you will be guided to take steps that support your prosperity. These actions may look ordinary, but they will be infused with spiritual power. You may start a business, make a call, share an idea, or say yes to an opportunity. But you are not acting in desperation. You are acting in flow. That is the difference. Earning implies separation. Alignment affirms unity. You are not separate from the source of your supply. You are not waiting for something outside of you to validate your worth. Money is not your master. It is a servant of purpose. It follows your consciousness. It answers your vibration. It shows up in response to inner permission, not outer performance. Even those who seem to have money through hard labor are only receiving through the channel they believe is necessary. Their belief has shaped their experience. But when that belief is shifted, when the mind is renewed, when they begin to see money as an energy that follows spiritual law, they will discover ease where there was once struggle. You do not chase money. You become a match for it. You do not beg for wealth. You embody it. You do not earn your way into abundance. You align with it through your thoughts, your emotions, your declarations, and your trust. The outer world then bends to match the inner blueprint. Alignment requires clarity. You must be willing to release old stories, generational beliefs, cultural fears, and inherited doubt. These are not yours to carry. You must replace them with truth, and the truth is, abundance is the law. Supply is unlimited. You are meant to prosper, not by earning, but by remembering who you are. Fear blocks flow. Faith opens the floodgates. In the unseen world, there is always movement. Divine substance flows like a living river, unceasing, abundant, and directed by thought. But just as a dam can halt the current of a mighty stream, so too can fear obstruct the flow of good. Fear is the great stopper. It creates walls where there should be doors, delays where there should be ease, and scarcity where there should be plenty. Fear is not merely an emotion, it is a frequency. It sends out a vibration that calls forth the very thing it dreads. It magnifies problems, multiplies confusion, and clouds spiritual vision. The one who walks in fear cannot hear divine instruction clearly, for fear speaks louder than intuition. It fills the inner ear with noise and drowns out the still small voice of guidance. Every form of limitation, whether financial, physical, emotional, or relational, can be traced back to some form of fear. The fear of not having enough, the fear of being alone, the fear of being judged, the fear of failure. These hidden fears form invisible barriers, and though you may pray and affirm, if fear remains in the heart, it neutralizes the very words of power you have spoken. Faith, on the other hand, is the great opener. Faith swings wide the invisible gates and allows the current of divine supply to rush in. Faith is not passive. It is a spiritual force. It clears the mental clutter, dissolves resistance, and prepares the atmosphere for miracles. Faith is the belief that what you seek is already provided. It is the knowing that all things are working together for your highest good, regardless of appearances. The moment faith enters, conditions begin to shift, not always visibly, not always instantly, but undeniably. Doors begin to creak open, new ideas emerge, right people arrive, solutions which fear kept hidden rise to the surface with ease. Faith does not force, it receives, it does not beg, it declares, and through that declaration, it transforms. Fear says, "What if it doesn't work?" Faith says, "It is already done." Fear clings and questions. Faith releases and trusts. Fear causes the mind to loop endlessly in worry, circling the same barren ground. But faith takes one step, and the ground beneath it rises to meet the foot. Where there is fear, there can be no clear reception of divine guidance. Spirit will not pour its wisdom into a cup full of doubt, but when faith empties the cup of fear, even the slightest whisper of intuition becomes a roar of direction. Faith aligns the heart with the divine plan. It places you on the current where life flows, and the supply is endless. You may not always feel faith, but you can always speak faith. And what you speak, you begin to become. I trust divine order. I walk in perfect timing. All that is mine by divine right now flows to me freely. These are not words for the intellect. They are codes for the subconscious. Each time they are spoken, they chip away at the walls fear has built and widen the channel for spirit to move. Fear constricts the breath, the body, the mind. It tells you to prepare for the worst. It freezes action. It blocks inspiration. But faith relaxes the heart. It invites the best. It energizes the body and fills the mind with divine possibilities. Faith is the key that unlocks the storehouse, where all good is already waiting. It is never the lack of opportunity, supply, or favor that stops the flow. It is the fear that it won't come. Once that fear is replaced with faith, the floodgates open. What once trickled begins to pour. What once stalled begins to rush forward with power, grace, and speed. Your word is your wand. It must be precise and unwavering. In the realm of spirit, the spoken word is not a mere sound. It is a tool, a force, a weapon, a creative agent. Every time you speak, you cast a spell. Whether you call it prayer, affirmation, or declaration, your word shapes the invisible and summons form out of formlessness. The word is not empty. It is divine substance in motion. It goes forth and does not return void. The tongue is small, but it holds immeasurable power. It builds and destroys, binds and looses, opens and shuts. When you speak with intention, your word becomes the architect of your reality. Just as the magician lifts the wand and commands with confidence, so must you speak with clarity, with faith, and with purpose. Hesitation weakens the force. Precision empowers it. The subconscious mind does not interpret vague wishes. It responds to exact commands. A wandering statement creates a wandering life. A clear, focused word draws clear, focused results. If you say, "I wish things would improve," the universe waits in silence. But if you say, "I now receive the right opportunities, the right resources, and the right people," then the wheels begin to turn. There can be no contradiction in your speech. You cannot affirm wealth in the morning and speak of lack by noon. You cannot declare divine health today and magnify symptoms tomorrow. The subconscious, like a faithful servant, will follow the strongest instruction, and that instruction is shaped by repetition, emotion, and belief. Your word must be unwavering, not once in faith and 10 times in fear. Your word is a wand. It is your point of contact with the universal law. With it, you write the script of your experience. You may not see the results instantly, but that does not mean the work has not begun. Words are seeds, and once released, they move through invisible channels, taking root in the soil of spirit. They grow underground, silently, until the time of visible manifestation. The mistake many make is speaking one thing and then doubting it aloud. They declare abundance, but then say, "Nothing ever works out for me." They affirm healing, but constantly discuss their pain. They say, "I trust," but follow it with, just in case. Such speech is double-minded, and a double-minded word has no creative power. A true wand does not waver in the hand of a master. When you speak, you must believe that what you say carries the full backing of divine law. You are not trying to convince God. You are aligning with God. You are declaring what already exists in the invisible realm and giving it permission to appear in the visible. The word spoken in faith becomes the bridge between the spiritual and the material. Let your word be intentional. Do not speak carelessly. Every idle word sends a vibration into the ether. Every complaint becomes a curse. Every declaration of fear becomes a magnet for what you do not want. But every word of faith becomes a decree that heaven honors. Speak deliberately. Speak as one who knows that the word you send forth returns fulfilled. Practice silence when you are tempted to speak defeat. Hold your tongue when others speak limitation. Do not lend your voice to things you do not wish to experience. Instead, hold fast to your phrase. Declare it daily. Let it become the vibration of your being. Let it saturate your atmosphere until every cell and circumstance begins to shift. If your word is your wand, then your mind is the hand that holds it. You must train that hand to be steady, to speak once and mean it, to resist the urge to dig up the seed with doubt, to speak not to please others, but to please truth itself. Speak what is spiritually true, not what is physically obvious. Speak what is desired, not what is feared. Speak what is promised by divine law, not what is projected by circumstance. Divine timing is instant when the inner channels are clear. In the realm of spirit, there is no delay. There is no waiting in divine law. Time, as you know it, belongs to the world of appearances. It measures moments in days, months, and years, but the infinite works outside the clock. Divine supply, divine guidance, divine resolution, they are always present, always available, and always seeking entrance. It is not divine timing that is ever late, it is human resistance that creates delay. When the inner channels are clear, the outworking of good is immediate. The so-called waiting period is not divine hesitation, it is internal preparation. The floodgates of heaven are not locked by spirit, but by fear, doubt, resentment, or belief in separation. These are the blockages that clog the inner current. When they are dissolved, the flow is natural, effortless, and instantaneous. Divine timing is not random, it is precise. It does not guess or hesitate. It is perfect order, unfolding in the moment you are aligned. The moment your thoughts are purified, the moment your words are consistent, the moment your heart is free of resistance. What you have been asking for often shows up without warning, as if it had been waiting at the door all along. Many believe they must wait for their good, as if the universe must rearrange itself first. But the universe is already arranged. The storehouse is already full. The right people, the right opportunities, the answers, the resources, they already exist in the field of possibility. They are not being created, they are being revealed, and revelation comes the moment the veil is lifted from within. Inner clarity is the condition for outer manifestation. This clarity comes when fear is replaced by faith, when confusion gives way to peace, when anger is transmuted into forgiveness, and when doubt is dissolved by knowing. These are not passive states, they are acts of spiritual alignment. Each shift within opens a gate through which divine timing delivers what has already been prepared. You may believe that the timing is off because the door hasn't opened yet, but in truth, the door is already open. It is your vision that needs adjusting. A clear mind sees open doors. A cluttered mind walks past them again and again, calling them walls. When your inner world is clean, you recognize divine appointments that were always present, simply hidden behind old patterns of thought. Divine timing is often mistaken for delay because it does not move according to human impatience. Spirit does not rush, but it does not hesitate. It is swift once the soul is ready. It is not your effort that speeds it up, it is your surrender. You must release your timeline and step into trust. Divine timing is activated by a quiet heart, not an anxious one. To clear the inner channels, you must examine what lies beneath the surface of your mind. What beliefs are shaping your perception? What words do you repeat daily, silently or aloud? What fears still whisper in the background? These are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to clear, to cleanse, to prepare the space where your good may enter. The instant you are truly ready, the good arrives. Not a minute before, not a second late. And readiness is not proven by striving, it is revealed through stillness, faith, and expectancy. You are not waiting on the universe is waiting on your alignment. The idea that blessings take time is only true when resistance takes space. When the channels are congested with worry, with control, with attachment, the current cannot move freely. But when you release, when you forgive, when you affirm the presence of good regardless of what your senses report, the unseen begins to show itself. Spirit never withholds. Divine order does not postpone. The law is always functioning. The moment your word matches divine truth and your heart lets go of the struggle, divine timing is no longer a matter of when, but a matter of now. The phrase is not magic, it is divine alignment. To the untrained mind, a spoken phrase may seem like superstition, a charm, or a ritual. But to the spiritually awakened, it is far more than that. A phrase charged with truth, spoken in faith and certainty, is not magical. It is a key to divine law. It is not spoken to make something happen, but to bring the speaker into harmony with what is already prepared in the invisible realm. The phrase is not a spell, it is a signal. It does not change the universe, it changes you. It corrects the frequency of your thought. It tunes your emotions. It sharpens your focus, and as you shift within, the world around you begins to bend and stretch to match your new alignment. That is not magic, that is law. A law more exact than mathematics, more precise than physics, and far more powerful than willpower. Magic implies mystery, illusion, or luck. But divine alignment is none of these. It is order, it is principle. It is the way the universe has always operated. When you speak a phrase like, "I am divinely guided and supplied," you are not casting a wish into the wind. You are speaking a truth that aligns you with your source. You are removing the static of fear and tuning in to the channel of provision. Each phrase rooted in truth becomes a spiritual command, but it must be spoken with intention and backed by belief. Without faith, it is only noise. With faith, it becomes instruction to the subconscious, to the universal law, and to the divine intelligence that governs all life. When spoken with clarity, it opens the path beneath your feet. There is no power in the words themselves, as if syllables carried secret force. The power lies in the consciousness behind them. You can repeat a phrase 100 times a day and see no change if your heart is filled with fear and your mind brims with contradiction. But speak the same phrase once from a place of deep knowing, and things will begin to move. To align with divine truth means to agree with it. It means to stop arguing with your good. It means no longer siding with appearances that contradict spiritual reality. When you say, "Everything is working out for my highest good," you are not attempting to manipulate events. You are declaring the divine order already in place. The phrase simply brings your consciousness into agreement with that order. Alignment begins in thought but must be carried into word. The phrase is how thought becomes fixed. It is how intention becomes direction. It is the affirmation of what is real beyond what is seen. It cancels out the language of fear, of doubt, of past programming, and replaces it with a higher pattern. This is why it works, not because it is magical, but because it is aligned. Every time you speak a phrase that reflects divine truth, you reinforce the blueprint of your desired reality. You impress the subconscious mind, you shift your emotional vibration, and you declare to life itself, This is what I choose, this is what I expect, this is what I allow. Life answers not your wishes, but your agreements, and the phrase is your statement of agreement with truth. The law does not recognize the phrase until you recognize it. It is not the string of words that holds power, but your identification with what they mean. You must become the phrase. You must embody it, believe it, live it. When you say, I walk in divine abundance, your thoughts, emotions, and actions must begin to reflect that statement. Then and only then does it become effective. There is no magic. There is only truth and alignment with that truth. Divine law is exact. It cannot be tricked or rushed. It waits patiently until the words you speak match the consciousness you carry. When the two become one, the outer world responds with precision and grace. Prosperity is your divine inheritance. You were not born to struggle. You were not cast into this world to barely survive, to scrape, to shrink, or to live beneath your privileges. You were born with a spiritual birthright, written not on paper, but in the invisible law of divine order. That birthright is prosperity, true prosperity, which includes supply, ease, peace, right relationships, and perfect self-expression. Prosperity is not a prize. It is not something to be earned through toil or suffering. It is not reserved for a chosen few. It is not a matter of luck, nor is it dependent on economic conditions. It is your inheritance by divine design. You inherit it because you are a spiritual being made in the image of the Creator, who lacks nothing, needs nothing, and gives everything. The very nature of the infinite is abundance. You need only look at creation to see the law of plenty at work: countless stars, endless grains of sand, fields of flowers, oceans that do not end. There is no shortage in divine mind. There is no rationing in spirit. The only limitation is the belief in limitation. The only lack is the idea of lack, spoken, repeated, and accepted as true. When you truly understand that prosperity is your inheritance, you stop begging for supply. You stop bargaining with the universe. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth. You begin to claim what is already yours, not with arrogance, but with spiritual authority. A rightful heir does not ask if they are allowed to receive the estate. They know it belongs to them. So too must you speak your word and receive your good. To inherit something means it is already prepared. It exists. It is established. And the only requirement is that you step into the consciousness of ownership. This is the great shift from asking to allowing, from hoping to knowing. Prosperity flows not to the one who wishes, but to the one who aligns. You align with your inheritance through right thinking, right speaking, and right expectancy. You must think prosperity, not poverty. You must speak abundance, not lack. You must expect good, not disappointment. These are not empty affirmations. They are spiritual instructions to your subconscious mind and declarations to universal law. As you affirm your divine inheritance, the outer world begins to rearrange itself to mirror your inner knowing. Prosperity does not mean only financial gain, though money is part of it. It also includes peace of mind, joy in your work, harmony in your relationships, and time to rest and create. It is fullness in every area of life. It is the unfolding of your soul's design without obstruction or delay, and all of it flows from the same source, the unlimited, unchanging good that has been yours since before time began. Many block their inheritance by clinging to guilt, shame, or the belief that struggle is holy. But struggle is not spiritual. Lack is not virtuous. There is no reward in suffering for suffering's sake. The Creator takes no pleasure in your hardship. The divine will for you is good and only good. When you release the belief that you must deserve prosperity and instead understand that it is already yours, you allow it to enter. Forgiveness plays a powerful role in receiving your inheritance. You must forgive others, and you must forgive yourself. Guilt is a thief that stands at the door of your prosperity and turns it away. But forgiveness sweeps the path clean. It clears the mental clutter and opens the heart to receive what was never withheld, only resisted. You were not sent here to lack. You were sent here to reflect the divine nature, and that nature is abundant, creative, generous, and unlimited. When you speak from that truth, when you walk in that truth, and when you give from that truth, you activate the full measure of your inheritance. You no longer strive, you receive. You no longer fear, you rest in certainty. You no longer wonder, you know. The universe rearranges itself to match your spoken word. Every word you speak is a thread in the fabric of your life. It is not idle, it is not empty, and it is never without effect. The moment a word leaves your lips with belief behind it, it becomes a directive, an instruction sent out into the invisible field of spirit, where substance awaits assignment. And the universe, governed by perfect law, begins to rearrange itself to fulfill that command. You may not see the shift immediately. The earth does not quake, and the skies do not open. But beneath the surface, things begin to move. The right people are prompted. A door quietly swings open. Circumstances realign. Delays dissolve. A meeting is orchestrated. A resource is released. You do not see the mechanism, but the machinery of the unseen begins to turn. This is not coincidence. It is law. The universe responds to vibration, and your words carry vibration. Each phrase you speak is encoded with the frequency of your belief. When you say, "Everything is working out for me," you send out a high, clear signal, and conditions rise to meet it. When you say, "I never have enough," that too is a signal, and the universe begins to make that statement real. It is not the words alone that move mountains, it is the belief behind them. Your words are carriers, but faith is the fuel. Spoken in fear, words can invite chaos. Spoken in faith, they command order. The universe is not personal, it is precise. It reflects, it mirrors, it duplicates. It does not ask what you want, it reveals what you repeatedly declare. Many speak words of truth in the morning and words of fear by noon. They bless their day with expectancy and then cancel it with complaint. They affirm abundance, then gossip about lack. The universe, hearing both, responds to the stronger of the two, the one laced with the greater emotion. This is why your word must be consistent. It must be a steady stream, not a conflicting tide. Speak deliberately. Speak with awareness. Let your words become laws unto themselves. Let them go out as messengers of light, declaring what must now appear. When you say, "I am divinely guided," guidance begins to unfold in places you had overlooked. When you say, "I attract all that is mine by divine right," new channels open and the old limitations begin to dissolve. You are not begging the universe to bless you. You are instructing it. You are aligning with its perfect intelligence. You are speaking the blueprint of your desired experience, and the universe must follow. It is not trying to decide if you are worthy. It is waiting for your direction. And the direction comes from your word. The rearranging of the universe does not require force. It requires clarity. You do not need to push or persuade. You need only to declare, consistently and confidently, what is already true in spirit. The moment your word aligns with divine principle, everything that is unlike it begins to fall away. Delay breaks, obstruction lifts, the crooked path is made straight. Speak not what you see, speak what is true. If lack surrounds you, do not give it more life by repeating it. Instead say, "I live in divine abundance." If fear whispers in your ear, do not echo it. Instead declare, "I am fearless and faith-filled." The more you speak what is spiritually real, the more the visible world must rearrange itself to reflect it. Every statement you make plants a seed. Some grow quickly, others take root silently. But all are producing after their kind. The spoken word is not passive. It is a cause, and every cause brings forth its corresponding effect. As you speak life, life comes. As you speak peace, peace enters. As you speak increase, doors open. You do not need to manipulate events or force conditions. You need only to hold your word steady. Let it be pure. Let it be unwavering. Let it be saturated with belief. And the universe, which is always listening, always adjusting, always aligning, will do what it has always done: match the vibration of your voice. There is no delay in spirit, only delay in belief. In the realm of spirit, there is no concept of time as the human mind knows it. The infinite does not measure in hours or days. It does not operate on clocks or calendars. What we call time is simply the unfolding of inner alignment. Spirit is immediate. Divine law is always in motion, always at work, never paused, never absent. So when your good appears to be delayed, know that the delay is not in the giving, it is in the receiving. Spirit is perfect order. It holds no backlogs, no errors, no missed appointments. Every desire planted in alignment with truth is already fulfilled in the invisible realm. It waits not for time, but for permission, permission given by belief. Until you believe it is yours, until you believe it is done, until you believe it can be easy, it cannot break through the wall of doubt you've built. Many block their inheritance by clinging to guilt, shame, or the belief that struggle is holy, but struggle is not spiritual. Lack is not virtuous. There is no reward in suffering for suffering's sake. The Creator takes no pleasure in your hardship. The divine will for you is good and only good. When you release the belief that you must deserve prosperity and instead understand that it is already yours, you allow it to enter. Forgiveness plays a powerful role in receiving your inheritance. You must forgive others, and you must forgive yourself. Guilt is a thief that stands at the door of your prosperity and turns it away. But forgiveness sweeps the path clean. It clears the mental clutter and opens the heart to receive what was never withheld, only resisted. Delay, as it is perceived in the outer world, is a mirror of inner resistance. It is not punishment. It is not a denial. It is simply a reflection of a consciousness not yet fully open. Your belief is the bridge from idea to experience. When belief is incomplete, the bridge is not yet passable. The good is there, the blessing is ready, but it hovers unseen, waiting for a landing place in the heart. You may say the words, but if the words are not charged with faith, they are but empty containers. Spirit does not respond to repetition alone. It responds to feeling. It responds to conviction. When your belief is clear, when your word is backed by inner certainty, the outworking can be swift beyond measure. It can arrive in an hour what you thought would take a year, but it cannot enter where it is not welcomed. Many people believe they are waiting on God, when in truth, God is waiting on them. Spirit holds nothing back. It is not deciding whether to bless you, it already has. The divine storehouse is full, overflowing with answered prayers, visions, and supply. But belief is the key that opens the vault. Without belief, even the most prepared good cannot enter your life, for law will not override your vibration. Belief is not merely a thought, it is a condition of consciousness. It is what you expect, not just what you hope for. It is what you claim as already true, regardless of appearances. When you believe in the unseen more than what your senses report, you begin to move in the rhythm of divine timing, and that rhythm is always now. Every delay in manifestation traces back to a belief yet to be cleansed or upgraded. It may be the belief that you are unworthy. It may be the belief that good must be earned through struggle. It may be the belief that others control your outcome. Whatever it is, it must be named, faced, and dissolved. Only then does the channel open wide enough for the current of spirit to flow freely. Do not confuse the stillness of spirit for delay. Just because you do not see movement does not mean movement isn't happening. When you believe, even in silence, spirit moves swiftly behind the scenes. Conditions shift, people awaken, doors begin to turn on invisible hinges. What felt blocked suddenly flows. What seemed impossible becomes obvious. You are not being tested by time. You are being called into trust. You are being invited to raise your belief to match your prayer. There is no limit in spirit. There is no hesitation, no withholding, no calendar of delays. The moment you declare it done in faith, the wheels begin to turn. It is your belief that gives permission. It is your knowing that opens the gate. It is your alignment that summons the fulfillment. Obedience to inner guidance opens hidden doors. There is a voice within that always knows. It does not shout, it does not argue, and it does not beg for attention. It speaks in quiet conviction, in gentle urgings, in subtle impressions that settle like a whisper upon the heart. This voice is the voice of divine intelligence within, the God self, the higher mind, the inner light. It knows the way even when the outer path is obscured, and when its direction is followed, doors begin to open where there were once only walls. Obedience to this inner guidance is not submission in weakness, it is alignment in strength. It is trust in the unseen order that surpasses human logic. The conscious mind may resist. It may say, "This does not make sense," or "This is not practical." But inner guidance is not bound by human reason. It speaks from the field of infinite possibilities, from the unseen pattern that spirit has already designed. To obey inner guidance is to act in faith. It is to move when there is no evidence, to speak when the words seem strange, to step forward when nothing in the outer world says you should. Yet it is in these very moments that miracles are born. The doors you could not see begin to swing open. The opportunity that was hidden in plain sight is revealed. The meeting you never could have arranged unfolds with perfect timing. Many wait for external confirmation before they act. They want a sign in the sky, a message in a dream, a guarantee of success. But inner guidance rarely offers such certainty in advance. It speaks and it waits. It waits to see if you will listen, if you will trust, if you will move without needing every answer. The obedience it calls for is not blind. It is illuminated by faith. When you ignore this guidance, you may still find a way forward, but it will be slow, heavy, and uncertain. You may find yourself circling the same lessons, pushing against closed doors, repeating patterns of resistance. But when you begin to honor that inner nudge, to call when prompted, to rest when guided, to speak when spirit moves, you enter into divine flow. The struggle falls away. The pressure lifts. What once felt forced becomes effortless. Inner guidance is your direct connection to divine intelligence. It knows the shortcuts. It knows the people who are ready to help. It knows which job to apply for, which door to knock on, which path to follow. It sees around corners. It navigates what your intellect cannot comprehend. It opens ways that no amount of logic, networking, or effort could ever achieve. The hidden doors it opens are not always grand entrances. Sometimes they are quiet openings in the heart, small shifts in direction, subtle adjustments that lead you to exactly where you need to be. A sentence in a book, a chance encounter, a sudden idea. These are the forms that guidance often takes. But to see them and to act on them, you must remain tuned inward. Obedience to inner guidance is often a test of courage. It asks you to release control, to let go of your carefully planned outcomes, to surrender your need to understand every step. It may ask you to leave a place of comfort or to speak truth where silence feels safer, but always it leads you to expansion. Always it leads you to higher ground. You are not without guidance. You are never truly lost. The light is within, not somewhere far away. And when you begin to honor it, not just in meditation, but in motion, in decisions, in speech, you begin to walk the path of spiritual precision. Life becomes less about force and more about flow, less about figuring it out and more about following what is already known within. The doors that others cannot see will open for you, not because you pushed them, but because you were willing to follow the quiet whisper that said, "This way." The spoken word breaks the spell of limitation. From the beginning, words have carried creative power. The universe itself was spoken into existence. And still today, every word spoken in faith echoes through the invisible and takes shape in the visible. When the spoken word is aligned with divine truth, it becomes a spiritual force, capable of dissolving illusion, shifting reality, and breaking the spell of limitation that holds so many in bondage. Limitation is not of spirit. It is not your natural state. It is a shadow cast by fear, conditioning, false beliefs, and generational patterns. It often disguises itself as logic, humility, or realism. It says, "You can't, that's not possible. Who do you think you are?" But none of that is truth. These thoughts form an inner spell, a hypnotic suggestion accepted by the subconscious, creating a world of scarcity, delay, and confinement. And yet, this spell is not permanent. It can be broken. Not by willpower alone, not by striving or struggling, but by the spoken word, clear, conscious, and filled with authority. Words that carry spiritual conviction strike the heart of limitation and begin to dissolve its power. As you speak truth over your life, the walls built by fear and doubt begin to crack. Old patterns begin to unravel. What seemed fixed begins to shift. The spoken word is not merely communication, it is command. It is an act of spiritual dominion. When you declare, "I am unlimited in spirit," you are not merely hoping, you are calling divine law into expression. You are canceling the lie of lack and invoking the truth of abundance. When you say, "All things are possible now," you are not just reciting words. You are opening gates, summoning new arrangements, activating divine circuitry. But the word must be spoken. It cannot remain trapped in thought. Thought is powerful, but it is inward. The word, once spoken, carries vibration into form. It sets things in motion. It goes out before you, rearranging matter, altering circumstances, calling into visibility what was hidden. The word said in faith does not beg, it declares. It does not plead, it knows. Every day, people speak limitation over their lives without realizing it. They say, "I can't afford that. I'm not lucky. Nothing ever works out for me," and so the spell deepens. The more it is said, the more it is believed, and the more it appears true. But the moment one begins to speak from truth instead of fear, the atmosphere begins to shift. Light enters, energy lifts, possibilities awaken. The subconscious is always listening. It accepts the repeated word as law, whether for good or ill. This is why the daily spoken word is not ritual, it is creation. Declare freedom, and freedom begins to find you. Speak increase, and the channels of supply begin to open. Break the pattern by breaking the language. Reverse the spell by reversing the word. Words like, "I am aligned with divine abundance," or "Doors open for me by spiritual right," or "I release every limitation now," carry the energy of liberation. These are not affirmations to temporarily boost your mood. They are recalibrations of reality. The spoken word, when it flows from belief, becomes a divine decree. The shift does not always appear instantly, but the spell is broken the moment the word is spoken in faith. The chains may fall slowly or suddenly, but they begin to fall. A new path emerges, not because you forced it, but because you declared it. A new pattern takes root, because your word no longer agrees with lack, fear, or defeat. No limitation can withstand the consistent, spoken truth. The false must bow to the real. The heavy must yield to the light. As you continue to speak divine words over your life, words of power, of freedom, of clarity, the old spell loses its hold. The energy once used to maintain the illusion is released and redirected toward expansion, creation, and expression. Wealth comes not from struggle, but from spiritual certainty. True wealth is not the result of endless toil, nor is it the reward of constant striving. It does not emerge from worry, nor is it summoned by fear. The world may teach that money must be chased, earned, and fought for, but spirit teaches a higher law. Wealth, in its purest form, flows from inner certainty, certainty that you are connected to an unlimited source, that supply is spiritual, and that abundance is already yours by divine right. Struggle is rooted in separation. It believes in a universe of lack, in a life of competition, in a world where one must take to survive. The one who struggles sees wealth as something outside the self, to be earned by sweat, by force, or by manipulation. But the one who is spiritually certain knows a greater truth. The source of all wealth is within. It is not earned, it is aligned with. Spiritual certainty is a state of consciousness. It is the quiet, unwavering knowing that you live in a universe governed by divine law, and that this law includes your prosperity. It is the deep inner conviction that you are not separate from your good, that your good seeks you even more than you seek it. When you hold this certainty, you move differently. You speak with authority, you act with confidence, and you attract with ease. Money does not come because you chase it. It comes because you become a match for its frequency. That frequency is not rooted in desperation, it is rooted in clarity, peace, and faith. The spiritually certain person can be still and yet receive. They can speak a word and watch doors open. They can follow a gentle inner nudge and find themselves at the right place, at the right time, with the right opportunity laid before them. This is not passivity. It is precision. It is alignment. When you are spiritually certain of your wealth, you do not waste energy proving your worth. You do not exhaust yourself trying to force what is already promised. You move with grace because you know the law is working. You trust your inspired ideas. You honor your inner timing. You give generously, knowing you cannot outgive the infinite. Wealth that comes from struggle often brings more struggle. It may arrive in your hands, but it weighs heavy on the heart. It demands upkeep, invites anxiety, and vanishes as quickly as it came. But wealth born of spiritual certainty carries a different energy. It is clean, it is calm, it multiplies because it flows in harmony with law. It does not enslave, it empowers. Spiritual certainty does not mean you do nothing. It means every action is guided, every word is chosen, every step is directed. You are not reacting to outer pressure, you are responding to inner guidance. The one who knows their wealth is secured in spirit no longer begs or bargains. They declare, they affirm, they give thanks before the outer evidence arrives, because in their consciousness it is already done. Many are taught to associate wealth with guilt or shame. They fear having too much or not having enough, but Spirit makes no such judgment. It is your divine inheritance to live richly, rich in joy, rich in peace, rich in supply. When you release the belief that wealth must be earned through suffering, you free yourself to receive with grace. You become available to the flow that has always been there. To live in spiritual certainty is to know that the outer world is but a reflection. As you shift within, the world shifts without. The money, the opportunities, the resources, all of it responds to the vibration you hold. Struggle fades when faith rises, lack dissolves when truth is spoken, and wealth comes not as a prize for effort, but as the natural outpouring of divine alignment. The truth has never changed. Your outer world is the precise reflection of your inner alignment. What you speak, what you believe, what you dare to declare in faith becomes the pattern upon which your life is shaped. You were never meant to toil in fear, to live beneath your inheritance, or to shrink beneath the illusion of lack. You are a spiritual being governed by divine law, and all that is required is your remembrance of that truth. The power lies in your word, spoken with precision, spoken with unwavering faith, spoken in obedience to the inner guidance that forever whispers, "It is already done." The moment you align your thoughts, your belief, and your speech with divine substance, you awaken the law of supply, the doors open, the channels clear, the floodgates release. Prosperity does not respond to effort alone, it responds to certainty. It flows not from strain, but from surrender to truth. When fear is released, faith becomes the magnet. When doubt is dissolved, the universe moves swiftly. The delays vanish, the hidden paths reveal themselves, and what once felt impossible begins to unfold with grace and precision. Your divine inheritance is not in some far-off tomorrow. It is present, waiting, ready. As you choose words of power, believe in the unseen, obey the quiet nudge of spirit, and affirm the truth of your wealth and worth, you unlock the frequency of money, peace, and freedom, not by force, but by alignment with the divine pattern already set within you. This is your law. This is your promise. This is your time. Speak it, believe it, live it.